Hey folks, welcome to the channel. So today I'm starting a new series of videos I'm calling Tools, Tips, and Talk. And this is a chance for you to get to know me a little better, find out what's on the bench, what's coming up, and also hear some tips. And we'll talk about some tools and get to know each other. So in this first one, I'd like to start out the Talk series just by describing myself, because I don't think I've ever done that for folks. I'm originally Canadian. I live in California now. I've been here 20 years, so you might hear some Canadian accent in some of my voice. I actually work at a software company. I'm a director at a software company. I do this as a hobby. So, you know, you see a lot of tools and stuff that I have here, a lot of which I've made. So we'll talk about those in some future videos. So how did I get started? I actually got started only a couple of years ago watching Forged in Fire. I thought it would be something cool to do with my my younger son, who's now 15. You may have seen him in a video or two. I thought it'd be something fun for us to do together. And we've made a bunch of knives together. So that's how I kind of got started, kind of got bitten by the bug. And now it's a passion. Now I want to spend every moment in the shop, which I can, of course, but as much as I can. So that's a little bit about me, how I got my start. I've probably made 50 knives in the last couple of years, some of which have been pretty complicated. My first few were terrible, like everyone's, but I strive on and I try to make something better every time I make a knife. So in today's tips and tools section are going to kind of be related and basically about a couple of things that I have on the bench. Let me go get the couple and you'll see what I mean. So all three of these are kind of on hold because my new heat treating oven is coming any day now. So I actually have a integrated bolster Hidden Tang chef knife in here. Ready for heat treat. There's a Bowie I'm working on, and then this Mako that I'm calling hunting knife. And you'll notice these are all Hidden Tangs. I kind of prefer Hidden Tang knives, although I do full tangs once in a while. So one of the things I want to talk about today is handles and doing Hidden Tang handles and how to really get the best Hidden Tang handle, or the best formed handle you can have. We're not talking about handle scales. We're talking about a block of wood going on your tang. How to best shape it, what tools to use, and how to do that. So I'm actually planning on using this guy. I don't know how well you can see it, but this is a beautiful spalted maple burl dyed red from more Burls. You should, if you're looking for Burls, I think this one is Box Elder in blue. Beautiful, beautiful work. I'll put a link to Jonathan Moore's website. But this is the one I'm going to use on this Bowie. And one of the important things we're going to talk about in the tools section, we're going to talk about drill bits. We'll get there. But what I wanted to talk about in the tips section is starting the grinding on this thing. Once you get it on the handle, of course you're going to have to drill and, you know, eventually use little little tools to dig out the inside so you can finally place the tang in there. Sometimes you want to seat or bed the tang, meaning you're going to cover the tang in wax or Vaseline or something like that, fill it full of epoxy, put it in there, let it harden, and then so you can pull the tang out, and then you have a perfect seal. But that's for another day. What I want to talk about is actually getting the measurements and the markings on your handle scales. So almost never when you get your tang seated in the knife is it perfectly lined up with the blade. Okay, usually the blade is on some kind of angle, or it's angled kind of this way just ever so slightly, or sometimes it's worse It's angled this way and tilted. So before you start, you need to get the handle material squared up with the knife. And how do you do that? That is the tip for today. So let's pretend that this is my blade, and we'll just pretend that this is the box here. Now, if you have a height gauge, which I don't, but if you have a height gauge, this is a little easier, but we can actually do this with calipers. What the first thing you want to do is obviously get a flat surface like a tile or something like that and get your calipers. And what I do is, if this is my blade here, I'm going to take a caliper measurement from the middle of the ricasso here, the middle of it, not below it or above it, the middle of the ricasso, and then the tip of the knife. And I'm going to make sure that those are the same. Okay, and if they're not, I'm going to shim whichever side of the handle while it's lying flat on the tile or slate or whatever you're using, and I'm going to keep shimming it until those two measurements are the same on both sides of the ricasso and the tip of the knife, and that will square your knife up. A good thing to use for shims, you can use little stacks of paper. If you have like a 3M sticky note, you can just keep peeling up the corners and stick them under here until you get exactly the right height. Once you get that height, then you're going to take the scribe, or take the calipers, and put a line down the center of your block, all the way around it. That's going to give you a center line that's perfectly centered with your blade. Once you have that, everything else will go off that line. So the key there, make sure you get that line centered with the blade. Okay, once you have the center line, what you can do is then take a ruler, put it right on that center line, use something like this, and be able to put a mark, obviously, and go from the narrowest part of the scale to the widest, and that will give you your lines on all the way around, equidistant from the center of the blade. Then go to your grinder, grind to those lines. You should have the scales at that point, or the block, squared up with the knife. That's the first part. Then, now you can start to put guidelines on your block with something like this. Use calipers, and then go around all four sides, just making sure everything's even, and then grind to your lines. The key first is that center line and how to get that. Obviously, with a height gauge, this is even easier because you're just going to put it up to the side. You don't need to screw with calipers, but I haven't bought one of those yet. So let's talk about the tool section. Okay, let's talk about drill bits, or if you're a machinist, this is actually referred to as a drill. I know we think of this as a drill, but really, you know, if you're around machinists, these are drills. I'm not a machinist, so you'll hear me use each one. So first, drill bits. Don't buy cheap drill bits. My first advice to you, buy good drill bits. These are Cleveland line. These are pretty much the most expensive bits that Lowe's has, and I think they're only 49 bucks. I buy about one set of these a year. I don't muck around with sharpening them myself. These are really top quality drill bits. They last a really long time. Don't spend the 19 bucks for the set that's 3 times this size. You're just going to be in for some pain. So get yourself some good drill bits. Also, especially for blocks, when you're doing handles, you're going to want longer drill bits. Because these, once they seat in the drill press, you're only going to be able to go halfway through your block. So get yourself a couple long drill bits for doing the hole for the Tang. So a couple other specialized drill bits, not necessarily for full hidden Tang, in blocks, are these. And these are basically countersink drills here.
And what these are more for your full tang knife. So imagine, okay, this is a cross section of, here's your blade, and here's the hole for the pin, okay? And then you're going to put a handle scale, and you're going to drill through the same thing. So let's say, here's your handle scale, okay? And then here's your handle scale. You'll notice only this area here, plus the drill, and this is going to be super tight fit, or it should be for your pin. There's not a lot of surface area for epoxy to grab onto, okay? Probably not the best thing. So what we do is, if you use these countersinks right here, you're going to be beveling the edges here. So this is going to be a space. So this is where the epoxy is going to flow, and you'll notice, look, you have 4, and these are going to be circles around 2 parts of the pin right around the blade. So this is going to hold your pin securely in place, especially if you have like G10 pins or something. So always a good idea to countersink or bevel your pin holes. And I actually bevel all of the holes when you're skeletonizing a handle. It just keeps your scales in place, makes them super solid. So that's what these guys are for. Lastly, let's talk about these. These are ones probably not a lot of people have or know about, unless you're a machinist. These are center drills. So unlike these guys, okay, I'll actually use this. These guys are actually not good, which may surprise most people. They're not good at actually drilling the very center of a hole. That's why these things tend to walk a little bit, and you have to use a center punch to make a small divot before you start these guys. Okay, these guys are meant for drilling the very center. They have a different shaped tip. They are meant for drilling down. When you start one of these, it will go right in. I got these when I got my lathe because the tailstock needs a center. And these are tapered exactly like a tailstock for my lathe. So that's why I got these, but I use these a lot for drilling holes, and just when I don't want a center punch, I'll use a center drill, and these work amazingly well. And I think I bought these for like $12. Same with these. These are really cheap, maybe $20 for this set. So get yourself some good drill bits. Countersink your pinholes for your full tang knives, and get yourself some center drills, and you'll be all set.
Folks, thanks for joining me on this episode of Tools, Tips, and Talk. If you got something out of this, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.